Welcome to the Business Catalyst. I'm Angel Sanchez, your host, and it's an absolute honor to welcome the state treasurer for the fifth largest economy in the world, and truly our banker here in California, Miss Fiona Ma. So thank you so much for joining us.
Sure. Thank you for having me.
So I think people may wonder, like, what is it the treasurer does? And I think I even wonder that sometimes, and we've spoken before, but can you share with us a little bit about what it is that your office does?
Sure. The state treasurer is one of the 8 elected positions statewide. We've been in the Constitution since the state was founded, and we're the banker. So all of the revenues come into my office. Back in 1850, we had a big vault in the basement where all the gold came into. So think about, where we've evolved from there. So all the revenues last year was about $3.7 trillion. And every day I invest the state's idle funds as well as for 2,400 local government units. That portfolio is about $180 billion today. And then I issue all the bonds for the state of California, the UC and the CSU system. So those are the 3 constitutional functions. And then later on, thanks to Jess Unruh, who was a treasurer about 5 treasurers back, he decided to start a number of different programs. So today I fund and finance everything from affordable housing, public transportation, schools, children's hospitals, stem cell, advanced manufacturing, green energy, small businesses, and I have 5 savings programs as well. So that's just under the treasurer's office.
Wow. So you guys have perfected the art of not sleeping, working 24/7 and making a lot of things happen.
Well, I've got great staff who are very professional and dedicated. We balanced to 6 decimal points every single day. I think we talked about how hard is it to balance your checkbook? Well, that's what we do.
That's incredible. We appreciate you doing that. So today, and why I'm so happy to have you here, is that not only do you have these larger programs, but you really have a number of programs that are here for businesses like ours. Small to medium-sized businesses that are looking to grow and they're looking to thrive in California. And we know there's a lot of resources out there that aren't being accessed, and you have several. And I want to ask you all about those and learn more about them. So the first one is really an important piece of the future for employees and business owners, and that's the CalSavers retirement program. Can you explain a little bit about what that is and how it can benefit small businesses?
Yeah, so CalSavers started about 5 years ago officially, where if you're an employee and you are not offered a retirement savings plan at your workplace, your employer must register you, meaning send over the payroll, help us upload it, and then after that, that small business owner has no other legal or financial obligation. So this is really a game changer for small businesses. I know that you do provide a retirement savings account, but it is costly, right? You have to take care of the paperwork. You have to track your employees. You have, various filings with different agencies. This is like a Roth IRA. So the employee sets a certain amount, they forget it, it comes out of their paycheck, they watch their little nest egg grow, and then in case of an emergency, they have something to draw on instead of maxing out their credit card. So let's say their car breaks down or they get an unexpected tow. In San Francisco, it's $695, and a lot of people don't have a lot of savings. And so, this is their way of saving for a rainy day or an unexpected event. So it's a great program, and people love it. Not only the employees, but the small business owners.
Yeah, I can imagine. I know just the liability associated with that. And as a company that offers that, you're right. Administratively, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of expense, and sometimes it's cumbersome. It's too burdensome for a small employer. So having something like this is great. I guess it's important to realize too that it's a compliance thing. So it's a requirement that small businesses or all businesses offer this. So it's important that if you're not, as a small business, that you probably move forward on that really quickly.
Yeah, so if you have one or more employee, you are required to sign up with CalSavers. Even if you are self-employed, a gig worker, you can sign yourself up as well.
So tell me a little bit about the California Tax Credit Allocation Committee. I know that affordable housing affects all of us, really. As an employer, you lose talent because people can't afford to live here. And so I know there's a number of programs, And this tax credit allocation really helps people. So can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I have oversee two agencies, one that distributes the tax credits, that's this one. The other one is the bonds. And so to build affordable housing that is truly affordable, there's a lot of subsidies that have to be in place from the federal government, state, and local as well. So it's like a complicated jigsaw puzzle. And once most of the places are in place, they will come to us for those last two pieces. And then it's a competitive process. We normally award the applicants in either 2 or 3 rounds, depending on, the application pool. And then the last 5 years, we've really focused on new construction for very low and extremely low individuals. So these are brand new units that could be here in Riverside. A 1-bedroom could be $500. And so we are really trying to target those that need it the most. Then we have a Dream for All program for those that perhaps are ready for home ownership. The state provides up to 20% of the down payment upfront, free of charge, no fines or points. And then we get paid back when the homeowner sells their property or refinances for the second time. So it's a great program. We're trying to get people not only into affordable housing, but then into home ownership.
Nice. And there's so many, privileges of that because I think, like I mentioned, most importantly, the employers having the workforce, and we lose workforce because they move to what I guess is considered more affordable housing and outside of California. This kind of creates an avenue to keep them here, and so we can retain that talent.
I know you have a big base here, a military base. So we also, through our CalVet program, also have down payment assistance for veterans or even people in the military who want to buy a house.
All right, so that's great news. And so let's get back into kind of what's important to businesses. So I guess housing is too, but financing, that's such a big thing. So the California Capital Access Program, the CCAP or CalCap, tell me a little bit about how that program can help small businesses in obtaining financing.
Yeah, so we received about $28 billion from the federal government during COVID, where we rolled out a number of different grants. That's free money for different businesses in different industries across the state. We still have extra money, so there's still another Riverside restaurant relief program that is available right now, for example. Then the federal government also gave us about $1 billion for more loan loss reserves and loan loss guarantees so that our participating lenders are incentivized to lend out the money because we are on the hook. The state, if the borrower does not pay it back, the state will pay it back. And so we are seeing a lot of activity through those CalCap programs. If you don't have collateral, we have collateral support programs. And then we also started a small business line of credit because we heard a lot of small businesses just needed a little extra working capital to get them through, when they're going to deliver or maybe get paid through government contracts or perhaps product is sitting on a ship. And so that program is also available for small businesses.
That's wonderful. I know, well, and you get that big order, that one you've always been dreaming about, but then you don't have the ability to bring it to realization. And
Right.
Funding is so important. And this opens up those avenues for so many people. So.
And like small businesses, right, and individuals, you should access it, apply, let it sit there because when you need it, you may not be able to get it, right? As a small business owner, make sure you have your line of credit and your financing in place so that when you do need it, you can pull the trigger.
That's a great point. You're right. When you need it, you want it to be there already. Yeah. So wonderful. All right. So the environment, such an important thing that, we, as somebody that grew up in California, we've seen the impacts of urbanization and things that have taken place, and we want to do our best to contribute to that. And I know that there's a number of initiatives that really are for businesses or designed for businesses to help with that. So the California Pollution Control Financing Authority, it's currently prioritized to help small businesses or businesses in general really kind of just reduce their environmental impact. So can you tell me about some of the funding opportunities available to help businesses like ours to reduce our carbon footprint?
Yeah, so we have a sales tax exemption program. So if a company is buying fancy, expensive equipment that is cleaning and greening, they can apply to waive that sales tax, that sales and use tax. So let's say, you're buying $1 million piece of equipment and your 10% is your sales tax. You can ask to waive it, and that extra money would go back into the working capital. So this has been a game changer for many companies, especially these new tech companies that are coming. We also have a Cal Competes program. So if you are thinking of expanding, or we're trying to attract a new business that has other options, we may offer them a Cal Competes grant, which is an income tax deferral. So you don't have to pay your taxes for about 3 to 5 years. So those are just two really good programs. Then we have a lot of training dollars. If you locally hire employees, for example, or you're retraining your employees for different processes at your company, for example, there's a lot of dollars for that type of program. So there's lots of information out there. Unfortunately, we ask you to go look at a website, and we never tell you it's there. So I would highly recommend utilizing your small business development centers.
Right.
These are free centers funded by the U.S. Small Business Administration and the state of California, and they provide free counseling, free consulting. They will help you do your business plan, access resources, marketing, all of the things that small businesses need help with that they may not have an expertise with. So small business development centers, and then our Office of Small Business Advocate at the state level, osba.ca.gov. That is the umbrella for all of the different programs. So all of our programs should be on the Office of Small Business Advocate's website as well.
Great. And we have a wonderful small business development center here in Riverside, and I hope people are utilizing it. If they aren't, after watching this, I hope they can make that call and get an appointment set up. So let's a little bit more on green. So I know there's Go Green Financing. Can you tell me a little bit about what that program is?
Yeah, so Go Green Financing is set up if you are trying to save money at your house, your business, or your multi-unit apartment buildings. And it's available for upgrades, maybe your HVAC, your air conditioning, lights, windows, anything that will help you save money in terms of utilities. So it's very easy to do. You apply. They'll give you a couple options for contractors in your area. You interview them. You pick the one. You go through your upgrades, and then we will reimburse you, essentially. So it's really great, especially for homeowners who have been in their house for a long time that haven't been able to do the necessary upgrades. So Go Green Financing. And now you can also use it for solar and electric vehicle charging stations.
Oh, nice. Good. Well, we've talked a lot about what can impact small businesses, and it's not always just the individual business and a rebate and things like that. Sometimes investments in infrastructure and community are vitally important. So can we talk a little bit about kind of the strategic advantages for businesses for them to invest in California, especially in long-term municipal bonds? Or can you share a little bit about those and basically how these investments align with the state's fiscal policies, but also our long-term economic development goals here in California?
Yeah, so we are also a conduit bond issuer. So if you are a public charter school, for example, and you're looking to buy a building or expand, you can come to our California School Finance Authority for, very competitive lending rates, but you can elongate the amount of time that you can pay it back, unlike a bank, which is, very focused on, short-term borrowings and getting the money back. So that's kind of the advantage of some of our programs. If you are a municipality, a nonprofit, a water agency, we have also conduit financing programs, as well as the iBank, the infrastructure bank. That is also available for upgrades to, let's say the airport wants to build a parking lot, or you want to upgrade your water system. That, again, we offer very competitive rates with longer payback periods. So we have a lot of programs. You just have to maybe email me at askfiona@treasure.ca.gov and give us the scenario, and then my team member, Catherine Asprey, will do the research and respond back to you and give you some options.
Excellent. All right. So you hear that doing business in California can be a challenge. And, the reality is we've got great weather. We have tremendous, vast resources. We've got infrastructure. We've got all these different things. But we always hear about taxes. I think there's some advantages, right? We have some tax advantages to keeping and growing your business in California. Can you share some of those?
Yeah, unfortunately, unlike other cities that can roll out the red carpet and, create all of these incentives and waive different fees and different programs, we're not quite as flexible in California. So, we do have our tax-exempt sales tax exemptions. We have our Cal Competes. We have a number of different employment programs. But unfortunately, we are California, and the taxes are perhaps high for others. But what we say is you get what you pay for. So some states may roll out the red carpet and they don't have as many taxes, but cheaper is not always better.
Sure.
So here in California, I think I would ask, our governments, our local governments, county, state, to make processes a little bit easier, combine processes to make it like a one-stop shop so that business owners aren't discouraged from going to apply or open up a business or even build affordable housing. So the more that we can listen to our constituents in terms of what they need and what some of the challenges and barriers are, I think the better off we're going to be, regardless of our taxes. But ease of entry, ease of doing business, having that friendly attitude that, hey, we want you to stay here, right? You've been in business for decades. Why do you stay here? Well, because people know you. When you call, people are courteous. If you need something, they also are willing to help. And that's what we need more in government.
Yeah, no, that's great. And, like here in the city of Riverside, with our one-stop shop, the city has done a great job of taking, multiple levels of bureaucracy, and we've really kind of, or the city has consolidated everything. So as a business leader, you don't want to have to go to 9 different floors or fill out 50 different sheets of paper. And the efficiencies that the city's done, it's wonderful as a business leader. It makes our life a lot easier. And I know the feedback has been very, very positive. And it's, I seeing what you guys are doing on the state level and knowing what we have going available here in Riverside, it makes our life easier, because if it's hard to do, most business leaders don't have time to do it, and they're not going to. And so that access is important.
Exactly.
All right. So thank you for sharing all these resources. Now, prior to entering public service, you yourself ran a business, correct? You're an accountant. And I guess to close out today, what kind of advice do you have for, maybe somebody that's finishing up school, or an entrepreneur out there, or somebody that wants to innovate and they want to start their small business? Like, you've kind of seen it from both sides. What advice do you have for our small business, either entrepreneurs or leaders, on how they can, stick with it and thrive?
Yeah, I mean, I meet a lot of young people, and they want to, start their own business and be a millionaire overnight, but access to capital is always a problem. And if you don't have enough backing or your own capital, some people are maxing out their credit cards, hoping that, they're going to hit the lottery, for example, and that is very, very dangerous. So I would say, if you're interested in starting a business in an area, go and intern, ask, to shadow, some of these executives, find a mentor who will give you that advice, and then maybe start out smaller, right? Maybe do a joint venture before you start putting everything on the line. Because if things don't work out and you have to file bankruptcy, well, that follows you, and that affects your credit history and your credit rating, and then your ability to access more capital or buy a building or a home. So it's great because everyone wants to be their own boss. Everybody wants to be a millionaire, but it is not easy. So I would say do a lot of homework. Go down to your SBDC. Join webinars, network with professionals that could really help you, and hopefully when you're ready to jump in, it's going to be successful.
So you're building that foundation. That's great advice. I think oftentimes people say, like, just stick with it, or, give it all you got. But the reality is you kind of have to build a strong foundation before you start putting the walls up. And
yeah. And then knowing the professionals, right? If you need a bookkeeper, if you need an attorney, do you know who to call? and regional chambers, for example, Rotaries and all of these different affinity groups. The more people you know, the more successful you're going to be, because sometimes you're going to need their professional help and vice versa.
Absolutely. Well, it's been a true pleasure, an honor for you to come down here. I know you spend a lot of time in the Inland Empire. It's wonderful to see, and I think you've done a great job of engaging our community, our business leaders. We're incredibly appreciative of that, and I just want to say thank you for spending the time with us today.
Thank you. I always say the Inland Empire is like the jewel. It is going to get us out of this deficit that we have, because there's a lot of activity coming, like the Brightline train and the Barstow International Gateway. I mean, those are significant, huge economic generators for this region. So I thank you for being a business owner and sticking with us and having that positive attitude.
We're going to be right there at the heart of it all. So it's great to see. Well, thank you for watching today. I think, as you can tell, our guest has provided some incredible information, and it's time for you to take that information, visit the website, or send her an email, and let's help grow your business.